Welcome to the Hail Mary Show, episode 2. I'm Daniel, and I'm joined by Jeric once again. It is beautiful and so nice to say that we are in week 2 of the podcast. It's going to keep going. It has legs. Our first sponsor is Benny's Pizza. Stop by Benny's Pizza for the best pizza, wings, and drinks with 3 locations in Greenridge, Peckville, and Clark Summit. There's always a convenient location near you. The first thing I want to mention is we had a crazy week in high school football. There were lots of upsets. There's going to be lots of movement on your top 7, I'm sure. It
Yep.
was a crazy week. And the first topic I want to get into is one of the most surprising games for me as a Scranton Prep alum. Scranton Prep lost to Valley View. Jeric, I'll let you take the stage.
So, let's get started here, Daniel. Yeah, I was at the Scranton Prep and Valley View game. Scranton Prep was our number 1 team. We thought we were going to expect Scranton Prep to play Scranton Prep football and win that game, which I predicted Prep to win. But it didn't turn out that way. Prep got the ball. They took their time moving down the field. They got down to around the 4-yard line. Then there was a tackle for last. They must have took 5, I can't remember exact time, but several minutes off the clock. Ended up being a missed field goal. Valley View got the ball. After I think was 1 or 2 snaps, a ball went over their quarterback's head, and Valley View scored a touchdown by jumping on the ball. And that was the only time Scranton Prep scored a touchdown by jumping on that ball. And that was the only time Scranton Prep scored a touchdown during that game. The Valley View defense, they were lights out. There was a few times Prep drove the ball down the field again. They couldn't find the end zone. By end of the first quarter, it was 7-7. And then at one point in second quarter, Prep kicked a field goal, which made it 10-7. And that's how it was at halftime. Third quarter, the turning point. Valley View quarterback connects with Gabe Davis on a deep ball, 48-yard touchdown for the Cougars. That made it 14-10. And there wasn't too much that went on after that. That score held up the rest of the way. And thanks to the Valley View defense who stepped up, their defensive backs played well, their linebackers played well, their defensive line played well. Prep could not find the end zone. Valley View bent a few times. An old saying, you bend, but you don't break. And Valley View's defense did not break. And I think it's going to be very interesting this year to watch Valley View and that defense to see what they do against some competitive teams throughout the season. For them to do what they did against a good Scranton Prep team, it was surprising. But Valley View earned it, and they wanted that win. I mean, the fans were going crazy. It was 2 minutes left. The fans are standing up, screaming. Cheering on the Cougars. It was a very exciting and very good game. One of the best games I've been at in a while.
I would have to agree with that. I think it was the surprise game of the week. But my one question that I would raise to myself and maybe to you as well is, was it more of a Valley View win or more of a Scranton Prep loss? Was it first game jitters? We won't really know. But for me, when I was looking at that game, I really thought it was more of a Valley View win. They looked really good on both sides of the ball and looked like they were ready to go. And it kind of looks like on the other side with Scranton Prep, they were kind of just unprepared. So I have to agree with you. It was just a little bit of a weird game, but Valley View played super well.
Oh, yeah, because there was many times momentum kind of swung into the Prep way because Prep few times moved that ball down the field, down the 20-yard line, 25. They had opportunities to score or throw a long pass, and I thought they were going. That game really wasn't over till it was might have been 20 seconds. Yeah, one play left. But that Valley View defense between these defensive backs, Mike Schmosky played a good game as a defensive back. You have Jeffrey Jeric, a linebacker, and a few names you throw out there. Brody Carr on the defensive line, and they really held up. And I seen Prep football throughout the last 10 years, and they could score quick. And with the talent they usually have on their team, but that Valley View defense, you got to give them credit, and it's definitely say that. But it's not easy to hold Prep scoreless, their offense scoreless. out of the end zone in any game. I was trying to look back, but I didn't. When the last time Scranton Prep didn't score an offensive touchdown, I'm sure it was couple years. But yeah, they didn't score an offensive touchdown here. So yeah, Valley View defense definitely won that game.
It was a great game, but we're going to move into an even more surprising game that happened, that being West Scranton and Old Forge. West Scranton gets a win after being winless last year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this game was a big surprise, but then at the end of the day, is it really a surprise? It was a surprise to me, but who was it? But West Scranton's head coach, Jake Mendetti, is working hard to rebuild that program up. They've been down the last couple of years. So he's reaching out. He's trying to get athletes back on the football field. His coaching staff is working hard, getting the kids to hit the weight room and just to believe in themselves. So I kind of had a feeling last year, sooner or later, West Scranton was going to come out of its shell. And it did this past Friday against, I would say, a good Old Forge team. Anytime you play Old Forge, especially with a good coach they have, one of the area's best, Mike Schuback, running the show. Old Forge is never easy. They play physical football. They always have talented players, decent quarterbacks, hard runners, and good defense. But West Scranton showed up. It was a kind of shock. I had this one circle, though. Old Forge is a proud program. They're tough in the trenches, usually physical and discipline, as I mentioned. West Scranton coming off a tough year, rebuilding with some new energy. On the paper, this felt like it was Old Forge's game. But I picked Old Forge to win. I just thought, okay, just a typical Old Forge and West Scranton game. It was anything but. But football isn't played on the paper. It's played on Friday night, Dane. The Invaders came out ready. The final score of this game was West Scranton 20, Old Forge 7. I can't believe Old Forge only scored 7 points. West controlled the line of scrimmage, made the big plays when it mattered. First half, West struck early and set the tone. Old Forge fought hard, but West's defense answered every challenge in this game, keeping Old Forge out of rhythm. It was 14-0 at the break. Even when Old Forge finally punched in a score, West slammed the door late in the fourth and put in another touchdown. And what a game for West Scranton to beat Old Forge. Last year, West Scranton played Old Forge tough. I believe they lost by 1 point. This year, they came in and beat Old Forge. So if you're playing West Scranton this year, why not take them too lightly? They're ready to play football. And Jake Minetti may be turning this program around and back to West Scranton football, how it was several years ago. So, yeah, that was pretty shocking. And congratulations to West Scranton's head coach, Jake Minetti, on that win.
So we've recapped how Old Forge lost, but I want to talk about their next opponent, that being Dunmore, in our rivalry game of the week. Can you talk about that a little bit? Give us a little insight of who do you predict to win and why?
Most definitely. This is a big game. I know Old Forge has been down maybe the last 2 years a little bit, but they're a very good football program. One of the area's best over the past, I would say, 15 years, along with Lackawanna Chair. As we know, they don't miss a beat with head coach Steve Jervis at the helm of Lackawanna Trail. But Old Forge, they have Mike Schuback. Even with the loss to West Scranton, I'm sure Mike and his coaching staff is in that locker room studying plays, studying their mistakes made and the errors, and going to look to try to turn that loss into wins for the rest of the season. So Old Forge is not out of it yet. So don't count them out. And Dunmore, they just lost to a good Riverside team. And it went into overtime, and Riverside won 17-14. So Dunmore, I think she's going to be good this year. But Dunmore, at this point, I'm going to put a question mark there. I'm unsure at this point. I thought they should have beat Riverside, but Riverside is a good team. So, but with both teams coming off losses, Dunmore and Old Forge, it's a historical rivalry, most definitely. But I believe Old Forge will eventually bounce back after the loss, and I believe the Dunmore will eventually bounce back after the loss. Their season's not over. It was just one game. So both teams enter week 2 after tough losses, as I mentioned. I do want to bring out a good key point. Former Susquehanna Sabres quarterback who's on the Dunmore Bucks football team this past Friday, he had 10 rushes for 100 yards and one touchdown as a quarterback. I kind of knew he was going to be a runner and a key contribute to the Dunmore Bucks football team. So this game, who I think is going to win, I'm going to pick Dunmore. It's going to be a classic Lackawanna County rivalry, both coming off losses, but I think Dunmore's ground game, and then with their quarterback, Weston Yurkanin, who could run and throw the ball, do everything. And he's definitely one of the dangerous weapons on that Bucks offense. So I picked Dunmore to win this one, 27-13, Dan.
I think that's the pick to go with, especially with how Old Forge performed. Hopefully they can get more points on the board than they did last week. But I want to mention our second sponsor, that being Kelly Ottman. The Hail Mary Show is also sponsored by your hometown ERA realtor, Kelly Ottman. Kelly has sales experience through many markets and is invested in you, evident through the hundreds of properties she has closed. Let's head into our game of the week, that being Lackawanna Trail and Western Wayne. Jeric, who do you got in this matchup with two undefeated teams starting the season?
Well, this should be a good game. This year, though, I think Lackawanna Trail should win this. I'm just going to throw that out early. Western Wayne has lost a lot of players last year due to graduation. Although they could bounce back, it's not the same Western Wayne team. Lackawanna Trail, they have a couple of big guys that returned, and they always have good underclassmen that's always stepping up, and that coach Steve Jervis up there at Lackawanna Trail, he always has his teams ready. His team's never out. He's never rebuilding. He's always reloading. That's something we learned about Lackawanna Trail over the last 15 years. They reload. They don't rebuild. It should be a good game early. Last year, Western Wayne beat Lackawanna Trail 28-7 in week 2, and that was the Trail's only lone loss of the season. And then they again lost in the state playoffs. But Lackawanna Trail bounced back from that game and won the rest of their games. And then they beat a good Riverside team last game of the season. But this one, physical. Both teams like to run the ball, heavy, and they're known for tough defenses. Lackawanna Trail is coming off a huge offensive performance in week 1. The running back, Isaac Ryan, exploded for 166 yards and 3 touchdowns. Western Wayne traditionally dominates in the trenches and is always in the playoff conversation. But they're going to be two tough teams and some of the most toughest teams in NEPA. Especially, this should be a classic old school football game with big hits and a lot of running. I don't expect too much passing in this game, but yeah, this year I'm going to have to go with Lackawanna Trail is going to win this one. Isaac Ryan got a big game last week. I think he's going to have a big game this coming weekend, and I think he's going to do it again. I picked Lackawanna Trail to win this one, 34, Western Wayne 20.
I think that would probably be my pick as well heading into this matchup. Western Wayne looked really good last week, and I think they got a great win. Yeah. I think Lackawanna Trail is such a tough team to run into. After getting a win that might motivate your team, you head into week 2, you have to play one of the best teams in the area.
Mhm.
Let's move into our last topic, our final one, that being the top 7 countdown. Jeric, what are your top 7 teams headed into week 2?
Some things have changed up here. Um, it's not the same teams I kept in there, but things moved around. Number 17 is going to be Mid Valley. Mid Valley got thrown out by Piston Area. I did not expect this one. I knew that Piston Area was going to be a decent team this year, but I also thought Mid Valley was going to be a decent team, but they just got destroyed. So, we're going to see if they could bounce back from this loss, Mid Valley. But I put them at number 7. Big question mark now of their expectations on the season, what I expect of them. Now, it's number 6 team is Dunmore. Played a tough game against. They moved down obviously from last week. Dunmore played a tough game against Riverside. Tough setback, but they should be able to bounce things around, I would assume. But they're on number 6 team this week. On number 15, I moved them down. Maybe some people won't like this. Scranton Prep. They lost to Valley View. I know Valley View is a good team, but this is about wins and losses, about winning games when you should. And I'm not going to be running this countdown like they do in college football or have. You get a loss, you're going to move down a little bit, especially if you're number 1 team. Number 4 team is Lakeland. They had a win against Carbondale, which was expected, but it was a huge win. They scored, I think it was 52 points. So Lakeland's offense is ready. So they're on number 4 team. They moved up. North Pocono is the number 3 team. They made a statement win, 56-0 over, I think it was Nanacoke. Balanced attack. North Pocono is going to be a good team this year. A number 2 team moved up. It's going to be Valley View Cougars. Big win over a number 1 team from last week, Scranton Prep. Gabe Davis had a big play, and this Valley View defense might be one of the best defenses in the area this year. But we're going to see if they can continue playing like they have this past Friday. Number 1 team, which I take this, it's going to be Lackawanna Trail. They're going to be one of the top programs again in the area. They're dominant. They have a good running game. They could pass the ball. They have a couple big guys on the offensive line, deep to line. And it's a well-coached team. Again, mentioned a few times, their head coach, Steve Jervis, does an awesome job up there. He's also one of the best coaches in the area the last 10 to 15 years, the most best active coaches in the area. So his guys are always ready, and I won't be surprised if Lackawanna Trail just runs the table and stays out at number 1 rest of the season.
I think it's a very fair list. I think that North Pocono and Lakeland getting those huge wins, they deservingly so, move up in the list. Valley View getting a win over Prep. They might even be, to me, after seeing that win, they could be above Lackawanna Trail. They might not be. We'll see how the season plays out. This has been the Hail Mary Show. Jeric, thank you for being on once again, and hopefully we will see you next week.
Most definitely. And definitely, go out, support your local schools this coming weekend. And NEPA has some of the best football games in the state. We love our football here. So go support your local schools.
Absolutely. We will see you next week.